Matty motorcycle fans, we're back again with a studio review of a motorcycle that's very near and dear to my heart. BMW's 2020 R1250GS HP. Let's talk all about it. Starting off with the nature of this beast. The R series of motorcycles from BMW, R in BMW language means parallel twin, the opposed engine that they've been building since 1930 something. This engine is about 80 years old. It is refined perfectly in this machine. Now, the 1250 is the displacement of the engine. The extra 50 in nowadays meaning the shift cam technology, which means that it moves the torque from high to low depending on how fast you're going, whether you're just getting rolling or if you've been on the highway for a little while. And GS, I want to make sure I say this right, stands for Galanda Straussa, all right? Which basically means off-road, on-road. Galanda Straussa, off-road, on-road. So there's your whole title of the bike. Fans, this motorcycle is BMW's most versatile machine. The rider experience is really exceptional. You have sport bike-like handling. You have stable on the highway, all in a very comfortable rider position. You're upright, there's no stress on your knees, there's no stress on your arms. The reach to the pegs is very generous. The reach to the handlebars, super, super comfy. You have all the creature comforts that you could ever want. You have all the technology, ABS, traction control. You have a windscreen, although BMW stopped putting the knob for the windscreen on the right side. It's great, it's super simple to operate, but my right hand is busy. My left hand that I have to reach across is not, and that's the one I'd like to use. BMW, pretty pleased with the cherry on top. Next generation, put the adjuster on the left side. Thank you, we've talked about this. But this comfy riding position, you could take this bike around all day, all week, go on a trip, go on a short little run, and take somebody with you. We'll go back to that later. You can also put luggage on this. This bike, you can bring all your stuff with you. You have 135 horsepower at your beck and call, ready to go whenever, and the way that this machine delivers the torque, you always feel like you have plenty of punch to get around cars, to get around incidents, and to escape from whatever situation you might have got yourself into. And the engine is absolutely bulletproof. You could ride through puddles, you could take it off-road, you could bounce it around, jostle it, wring its neck, whatever your plan is, this engine can handle it. It is absolutely confidence-inspiring to be on this bike. The way that it enters corners, the way that it accelerates, never scares you, never makes you nervous. Matter of fact, can mask a lot of your issues. If you're just an okay rider, if you're a new rider, if you have the cash, I highly recommend you start out on one of these. It will make you love motorcycles. Now, for this model, BMW switched out the brakes. They make their own brakes now. They say BMW on them, as opposed to the Brembos. Now, I personally owned a 2015 model of this bike. This is the 2020, so I had the last generation R1200. This bike definitely brakes better. I was surprised to hear that. So if you have the last gen, not that your bike doesn't stop, this bike stops better. One finger, super, super modulated, very controlled, in and out of corners, stopping even at stoplights. It's just silky smooth. I was very impressed. They've been building this bike since 1980. It's the original on-road, off-road, dual sport machine. You can't get any better. This is the benchmark everybody else is trying to chase. So whether you got an Africa V-Twin, a Triumph Tiger, any of those adventure bikes, poor KTM. They make a great bike, but they're real adventure bikes. We'll get to that in another video. But this machine is top of them all. Gives you every little bit. The only rub is between $20,000 and $25,000 $1,000 to get yourself a brand new one of these off the showroom floor. In my personal opinion, worth absolute every penny. If you have the means, go shopping, go get yourself this bike. On to the front end. I'll take a second to talk about the suspension on this motorcycle. BMW has put on their K Series and on this R Series a telelever front fork, which is basically a wishbone style suspension. There's a rear spring, just like the rear spring on the bike, but it's wedged in the front. And what that does is it stops the nose from diving. This bike always rides flat. And you go, Maddie, when does the front of a motorcycle dive? And any of my guys riding sport bikes out there, you know that when you brake hard, the front end of your bike tips in. Now, if you got a great suspension, it's not so bad, but on this bike, it doesn't happen. The whole bike squats into corners. The dynamic ESA system, the front talks to the back, which talks to the brakes, which talks to your ABS, which talks to your traction control. There's a million conversations all going on in German while you're riding and tipping into a corner, giving you every advantage in the world. I personally have rode around the outside of superbikes on entrance and exit ramps on highways right here on my little island. And they look at me like I'm crazy, effortless around the outside of them, leaning more with more confidence and going faster. Definitely look into it. Average sport bike rider will get put to shame with an average GS rider. Obviously, it's the horse, not the knight. If you got the skills, I respect your game. After that, we talked about the brakes are great. The windshield does its job, blocks plenty, deflects plenty of wind. Just, I hate where the lever is. On to the middle. On to the center of this motorcycle. Most notably, and I love that they did this particular model has a center stand. Now, normally, the HP model of this motorcycle is supposed to be a more aggressive off-roady version, and they didn't put the center stand on it to give you that little bit more clearance from the center of it. It still has the skid plate, but this particular model, even though it is an HP, you still have a passenger seat, passenger pegs, and the center stand. Thanks, BMW. We love it. The reach from the foot peg to the seat is super, super comfortable. Now, this is a tall motorcycle, so it means it's up pretty high. Even though it does have the dynamic ESA and you can adjust the ride height, it is a little tall. I'm 6 feet tall, I have a 33-inch inseam, and I am on the balls of my feet on both sides. If I sag a cheek, I can get one foot flat-footed while resting the other one on the peg, but if I put both my feet down, unless I scoot all the way up to the front of the seat where the bike is the skinniest, I can't get my feet flat-footed. I sit my butt a little bit further back. BMW has this little ridge right here where I can rest, just so I know where the back of the bike is. That's where I'm comfortable riding. Some people scoot forward, some people back, some people in the middle of the seats. I'm not here to tell you what to do. All I'm saying is when my butt's all the way back, I'm on the balls of my feet. Your dynamic ESA system. This is one of the best ones on the market. BMW did a fantastic job on this HP model of this bike. You can put the butt up, let it know if you have a passenger, let it know if you have luggage. It'll adjust the rear accordingly so you don't lose any of your geometry, meaning the bike will stay the same angle front to back, and all of your handling stays exactly the same. They put a lot of thought into this. It's a really great idea. On to the booty. You know that's one of my favorites. You got the parts to put on, all of the luggage that you'd ever need, top case, 2 side bags, everything, all the bolt-on parts are already here. But of course, it's BMW, gotta order them separate, they don't come with it. All of these GSs have these single-sided swing arms, and when you have these beautiful gold wheels, it really is beautiful. This bike is just put together so well. The colors, the styling, it really does look awesome for what it is. All of the R Series motorcycles are shaft driven, which means there's a little locomotive engine in the back spinning the back wheel. No chain, no sprockets, no nothing, particularly no maintenance. The one shaft that's on here is good for something like 80,000 miles or something really ridiculous before it even needs to be looked at. So as far as your long distance traveling and your long distance use, this is definitely the bike to have. Let's do a quick review. The last thing about this bike that I want to talk about is the dashboard. The 2020 models have this incredible 6-inch LED display screen. Just like an iPad, you can shift through all of the different features that this motorcycle has and control it at your fingertips with that BMW wheel that we all have come to know and be familiar with. But as anything out there, it isn't perfect, although I am a huge fan of this bike and I recommend everybody out there go out and buy one today. Let's talk about some of the cons. First off, the gearing. Now, we had just said that the shaft drive is one of the most wonderful inventions ever, low maintenance, but it also is low option. This particular motorcycle, in my opinion, is geared a little short. I rode the RS version the other day, which has a little bit longer gearing. It definitely is a lot smoother, and you definitely aren't shifting up and down as much. This bike, 234, 234, 234, 432, 234, 432, up and down through twisties, whereas the RS, most of the time, could leave it in third and have a really great time through all the twisties. One less thing to worry about. Not that shifting is not fun, particularly with the auto blip and the quick shifter that's equipped with all these motorcycles. It makes it super easy and a little bit fun, but less is always more on a motorcycle. The more time you can spend looking forward and paying attention to what's around you, the better. After that, now the GS is definitely a jack of all trades. Like we said, it handles incredibly, it stops incredibly, it rides on the highway incredibly. It is a jack of all trades, but a master of none. You can still get outrun by a different bike. You can still get outturned by a more specific machine. You can still get more luggage on a different bike too. Their K series definitely can fit more stuff in it. A sport bike will definitely outrun you. And through the twisties, super naked will definitely walk away from you. But you'll keep up 85, 90% in any of those situations. So like we said, jack of all trades, master of none. Can't forget how inspiring the confidence is. Then we got to talk about it a little bit. I am coming from a sport bike background. I'm a huge fan of these bikes, but we have to say when you're on it, you're a little bit goofy. Now there's pros and cons to that. It's a goofy looking machine, you're sitting upright, your arms are way out in front, it's super, super comfortable, but the way that it's put together isn't as sexy as, say, an S1000RR, which is a wonderful, sexy machine. You're not gonna be as comfy, but you're gonna look so much cooler. The pros to that are, I'm just gonna say, I personally may or may not have been fracturing a speed limit at one point in my life. Driving down the highway, going right past, we'll say, a law enforcement professional, and he just kind of looked at me, shook his head, said, "Look at that goofy dude," and I went on my merry way, okay? Ripping around on the throttle. Where had I been on a super bike, maybe I would have gotten in a little bit more trouble fracturing the speed limit because I just would have looked cooler. But the overall is, the comfort is there. So if you're coming off a sport bike, this is definitely something that you should be looking at. Last, again, back to the gearing. For whatever reason, the R series of motorcycles with a quick shifter, so this opposed twin engine, hates first into second with the quick shifter auto blipper. It gets herky-jerky, it knocks you around, and if you have a passenger on the back, it could definitely unnerve them. So I find myself first into second and second into first, just using the clutch still like an old school 100-year-old motorcycle, which isn't a bad thing. I just want to say it's not as silky smooth as it could be, and to get the quick shifter and auto blipper to work right, you got to be a little bit higher up in the revs. But overall, one of my favorite motorcycles on the planet. BMW, thank you. Never stop the production. Keep adding the horsepower. Make this thing a legend that it is. Many motorcycle fans, thank you so much for watching. We have a ton of new 2020 motorcycle reviews coming at you today. I got my new microphone. I don't know if you can hear me any better, but it's there. So friends, please subscribe to the channel, like all of these videos, comment, tell me, what do you want to see? What do you want to talk about? What's your favorite bike? What are you riding that I could bring in here and talk to you about? Please share this video. I'm looking forward to speaking to you guys many more times and look forward to this summer when we get our on-road road tests. Thank you so much, everybody.